from 25,000 police officers in KZN to 19,000. But the population is growing, and we are going down more. Thanks to who? The unions. The labor people who said we want salaries for our employees. So the more government employment and increase salaries is the lesser they employ. So the lesser they employ, the more crime. So we need to really interrogate and ask these things. Prima, you said this country is going down in front of our eyes. The reality is we've got too many things that are wrong in our country that contribute. Labor laws are one of those. I can tell you that. We moved to 25,000 employees. It was paying me to look at the NUMSA's Secretary General yesterday talking about the closure of Goodyear. So when you have companies that are starting to shut down, and you need to ask yourself, and many of them shutting down in the country, the higher the salary we need, the lesser the employment. And that's a reality. We can't avoid it, but it's a fact. We must face it, it is there.
We think he's flawed for several reasons. Basically, it's tantamount to blaming a patient at a hospital for getting cancer or diabetes, or is blaming a victim of crime for being robbed by criminals. It makes no sense to blame workers for a very deep socioeconomic crisis. We're in a crisis not because of what we pay workers, which is not that much, actually quite little, including police officers. We're in a crisis because of deep structural flaws we've inherited from the apartheid regime. We're in a crisis because Eskom was run into the ground during the decade of state capture and corruption, where electricity became unreliable, unaffordable. We're in a crisis because Transnet struggles to move our mining, our manufacturing, our agricultural goods to the markets, where huge amounts of jobs are created. We're in a crisis because Metro Rail has collapsed during COVID-19 and it transports workers to the workplace in our cities. Similarly with municipalities. And you would think that a general of the police of his seniority would also appreciate we're in a crisis because of high levels of crime and corruption. But if his economic argument, and we're not aware that he's got a background in economics, but if his economic argument is to pay workers peanuts, and that's a way to grow the economy, then the party regime would have created a very prosperous society. But it makes no sense to pay people peanuts because, number one, you'll struggle to find workers being productive if they must walk 2 hours each way to get to and from work every day. They'll be exhausted. Similarly, if workers can't afford to buy the food or medication needed to be healthy, they're not going to be productive. And we're not sure how our businesses who produce shoes, clothes, food, furniture, cars, appliances, or hotels, restaurants, are going to be profitable if workers, who are the majority of consumers, can't afford to buy the goods. So it's a fallacious argument by the general. Yeah. It would have had more credibility if he said himself, as a Lieutenant General of the Police Service, if I get his rank correctly, earns 12 times more than a constable in the police service, and he thinks a general should take a 50% salary cut. That would have credibility, but to pick up on the poor and dump the failures of politicians or the failures of the private sector, of the economy, etc., upon workers, it makes no sense at all.
This is a very, very serious matter to us. The General Mkhwanazi, who is otherwise a person we have given support when he came out in public and in Parliament to point out some very disturbing trends inside the police, we came out to say, hooray, we need people like him to continuously assure the public that not all of the people in senior positions are corrupt and can be corrupted. So let's separate the issue. The point, however, that he is raising at this particular moment is very disturbing in the context of a divided society. We are a class-based society. There are people who are panting every day for views that will reinforce the exploitation of the working class. And there are people on the other side of the class divide who are continuously involved in a struggle to ensure that there is justice, there is equity, there is fairness, and that the provisions of the Constitution, in particular to fair labor standards, are observed all the time. And that is us on the other side.
I'm not even sure where to start. a dissenting view is always welcome, but this one is actually misleading. It is misplaced. It shouldn't be happening because what he is saying, for one, the general says that workers in this country are paid too much. That's not true. In a country where we have a minimum wage of 28 rand, 56 or 73 cents or something like that. It's under 30 rands. And when the minimum wage came in, people, like farm workers were earning 6 rand an hour. So in a situation like this, where actually he's talking about the people that he has oversight on, police people don't get paid too much. They really don't. They actually, some are living in backyards. They use the train to get to work. And these people are people who actually work in very dangerous environments. So for him to say that doesn't make sense, especially considering that constantly, like even Otatu Vavi was just making a joke right now about the suspended police minister. But the suspended police minister, before he was suspended, was constantly asking for the budget for his department to be improved, precisely because of that, because police are not being paid too much and they actually are leaving the force.
I was sitting literally on the bones. Tightening the belt now beyond this point actually will break the bones in the waist. And the irony is that it is not the workers, it's not the generals who are saying to themselves, we need to cut our wages. I was just looking at the annual salary of a general who is a provincial commissioner. They are earning 1.8 million rands annually. And he's certainly not talking about himself when he says that the salaries are too much. He can volunteer and ask his salary be cut by half, to take from 1.8 million to about 900,000 rands. He won't agree to do that because he knows that he has obligations to his family, to his house, to his school kids, and to everything else that he has to do as a human being. But he wants to point the finger to ordinary workers, the warrant officers, the constables, and the other juniors in the service who earn way below what he is currently earning. So that's the starting point. That's why we felt that this call is rather hypocritical. And I think it is very divisive. I agree with what Zanele is saying there, and absolutely divisive. The point that I was trying to make is that what he says falls right into the hands of the conservatives in society. There is always people who champion neoliberalism, justifying austerity programs, budget cuts to policing, education, healthcare, and home affairs, everything, leaving the crisis we now have in society, where even in the police services, if you remember the now departed National Commissioner Sithole, before he left, he said we needed at least 60,000 more police officials. And the government have only employed 10,000 more police since he made that particular call. We are sitting way below the United Nations norms and standards when it comes to the number of police officials you need to police a citizens. And in terms of the international standards, you need at least one police official for 220 people. In South Africa, we are sitting with one police official for 427. So yes, there is a need to employ more people, but you can't do that by cutting wages of the existing police. You need to move away from the austerity and from the budget cut.